Hello, and welcome to the basement with me, AZ, Ghosty, and of course Ghosty's mate, who's Alice, once again.
Hi.
We're excited to keep making videos, so we thought let's keep this going. After our last play, we were a little bit disheartened, so we thought why not be more disheartened? So we decided to play this wonderful game by Awaken Realms, This War of Mine. I've played it before a few times and managed to pick up the expansions for it just to see how that kind of increased the game, but I've always wanted to do a review of something like this. It's a survival game, if you've not already guessed. It's based on a game for the PC, iPhone, and more goodness knows what else. And they turned it into a board game. And they've done a pretty good job, I will say straight up. Really impressed by this game. It does what it says on the tin, I would say. It makes you realise that lockdown isn't that bad, really. It's not, is it?
Sorry.
It's not. Like, lockdown isn't that bad.
No, not at all.
We've had a year of it, but I would rather have a year of that than a week of this.
A day of that.
And it puts hardship into a different perspective. As a survival game, it picks up something really difficult, and that is the challenge of failure. Especially in board games, if you make a game difficult, you are balancing a very fine line of, is this game fun because it's too difficult? There are games that peak those sort of areas quite well. Robinson Crusoe, I think, is probably a good example of a game like that, where you are trying to survive, and 9 times out of 10 you won't. But that process is done in such a way that you don't mind that failure at the end.
You still try.
You still try, and that's the fun of the game, is actually getting to that point of trying. This does that really well. Because no matter what you do, no matter how well you think you're doing, something will inevitably mess that up. And it did for us. It did it pretty.
Very last minute though.
Well, I think it snowballed. I think that was probably what it was. It wasn't last minute, just a snowball failure. Because I thought we were doing all right, but we weren't at all. So if you've played, a lot of you probably have already played the game on the PC and everything. I did briefly play it before I played the board game, but I wasn't really that interested. But when I played the board game, I thought I'm gonna give this a go, because generally things that are games, PC games, I mean, and things like that have come out of board games don't tend to do very well.
I remember you playing this one.
Yeah. But I like this better. I'm biased because I like board games, but I actually like the board game better. I think barring the night raid bit where you actually go out as your character on the game and do those bits, here you're drawing cards and seeing what you find and seeing what trouble you get into. I think this is a lot better. I think it's a lot more fun, easier to control your characters. You've not got the time thing going on. You can take a lot of time to think about what you want to do, but really you're quite penned in. And it's always about dividing what is needed versus what you think you might need, what you probably will need. And it's all card driven. The layout of the game is fantastic. They've got slots for each card, so you know where to place them. The decks are labelled well. The rulebook is, again, top notch. You play as you learn and you just repeat. It's really simple. A lot simpler than the other sort of styles of games like this, that's for sure. But it feels a challenge. It's got a set mode, which we were playing, which is just basically survive. You draw event cards and you see just how it's going on. But there is a ton of, especially with the expansions, scenarios that you can do, which change the game, which change how things work, which takes stuff out and adds stuff in, adds more story into the game. So there's a lot of breadth in this game to play. I mean, if somebody said to me, would you, if you had people around who wanted to play a board game, would you whip this out and play with them? I probably wouldn't, because they think I was some sort of psychopath. I mean, some horrible things happened in ours.
And I love horror films. I love scary films. I'm not that keen on them, but they were like.
It was graphic. It's
intense.
Really graphic. I mean, they wanted to capture the pain of of civil war, the pain of being a normal person in war. And it really puts things into perspective. Like I said, it really makes you realise that that COVID and everything we're going through is nothing compared to what people probably go through with something like this.
You've got to be in a good mood when you start to
Well, I don't even know you should be.
Well, just do it in a bad mood because it'll make it worse.
You're just in a mood a numb mood. Because it presents you with really difficult situations, and it does well to think you know what you would do morally, but to survive.
Yeah.
We ate somebody.
I think we ate a couple of people.
We froze poor Amelia.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did. We froze her.
We ate her.
But I think if you're in the same position, although right now you go, oh, I won't do that, you probably would. If you were starving.
That means Alice will eat me. So I'm gonna be.
If you were starving, you would.
I'll be dead anyway, so it'd be fine. There's
Well,
no way I'd
person
survive.
was upset because they didn't have coffee.
That's true. I mean,
put things into perspective.
That is true. It escalates quickly. To play this game, you have to be okay with the fact that you're probably not going to be okay. Ghosty was doing really well. He managed to amass a huge pile of stuff, and then a sniper shot him in the head. So that was him done when he tried to go outside for a visitor. But it's a fun game. It is to actually play and try and survive. That's fun. You've got to be careful who you play this game with. I think that's just a given, really. If you've got people that are very sensitive to these sort of things, then I think there is actually. It will be something high. 18,
Yeah,
he's 18.
yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, why did we need to check that?
Yeah, but you never know.
30. And check your ID before you do it. It's very graphic. If you like those sort of nitty gritty things that don't hide behind anything, then again, this game's really good.
Paints a good picture, doesn't it?
Well, it paints a picture.
Well, you know what I mean.
Picture.
Not a nice
picture.
one, but I mean it's good.
You've got a really nice selection of characters. I don't think the game is overloaded. I think the expansions added more scenarios into it. They didn't really add anything to the main game if you're just playing it. So for me, I mean, I got a cat. That was cool. But I mean, the cat just wandered off most of the time, so it didn't do anything. So I added a cat. So apart from that, most of the things are scenario. But I do think one of the expansions that adds a sort of campaign scenario, that would probably be really good, because based on how you do, sort of changes how you move on. I feel like the layout of the game and how it flows and things is really, it's a really nice flow to the game. There is quite a bit going on in a simple way, and the layout of everything. It's by Awaken Realms, which, from the last game they released, which was Etherfields. I kind of felt they lost that bit of clarity in the game for me, with not labelling where things go on the board, not being very clear about where everything is. Bring this back. That's what I would say. Bring that back, because it really helps you just get into the game. And I always harp on about that, but it is important. Presentation and being able to not be overwhelmed, whether that's through the rulebook talking to you or through the board making it clear, is really important. Because if this wasn't all labelled and that was done as a rulebook with just rules, it'd have been a nightmare. When in reality, that's all it needed. And I think it goes to show that a lot of games with a bit of thought and a bit of play test with fresh minds, and people who don't know how to play the game is really important, because I feel like they've done that with this, and they've really tried to make it accessible to board gamers who might be a bit apprehensive about transferring over a game from a PC, but they didn't disappoint.
So somebody said it's got the app for the scenarios.
Yeah, there's also an app. That's a really good point. There's also an app if you don't want to read the book. The book's got loads of stories in it that happen in the game that tell you that different things can happen. You find different stuff, and if you're going exploring, you can search different things and read about them. And most of them are horrible, but they're interesting because it adds that extra bit of oh my goodness to the game. There's an app that you can get. We didn't have it on the TV this time. We just read from the book, but
because it doesn't read to you.
No, it doesn't read to you. But you can just type in the script.
it'll take you to this and then automatically take you to the next script that you need, rather than having to find the page in there. So that's useful. You can have it on your phone. You can put it on the TV if you're lucky enough to have something like that, so everyone can see. It would be really good if it was read to you, but again, a lot of things, you know, they don't tend to do that at all.
The voice acting there.
I do it, yeah. I do it. I mean, I'd be sobbing at the end of the day, probably.
Rocking.
Yeah. I'd be sobbing.
I mean, who thought of some of these as just like...
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. Hopefully they just gave selected people 10 to do, because I don't think if you could come up with any more than that, you were twisted, I think.
Yeah, there were some top bits.
But for a quick game, maybe it is relatively quick, isn't it? I mean, it took us...
Yeah.
I mean, we died quickly, but an hour or so
That's
was
why
probably...
it's
Yeah, that was quick. But it was fun. You can play this multiplayer, I say, which is pass around the go. Don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Play it with somebody. You can play it together and decide things together. Much better. You can have, because it's not a long drawn out game. You can both make decisions. You can both say, "Oh, we should do this," and we won't feed them. We'll feed it. You know. And but it's all right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was fine. It's not trying to be more than what it needs to be. So I wouldn't recommend doing it and passing it around like they suggest. That would just be a bit farcical, because you inevitably all going to make decisions together, and if you don't, that's strange. So I would...
Because you're together in the game.
Yeah, you're together in the game, so play it together. Tell a story together, which is great, which is exactly what you want to do. It's a horrible story. Don't go to bed thinking about it. Watch Winnie the Pooh or something afterwards. For some...
Moana before
yeah,
bed.
just sing a song. Don't dwell on this. But again, very impressed with the game. I think I like Wake 'em Rounds anyway. So it's sad when things don't work out quite right. But for this one, I know it's been out a while. It can be hard to get hold of. But if you do get a chance to play it, and you are feeling glum about being trapped in because of COVID, feel glum no longer, because you'll be glad to be inside, warm, definitely, without rats eating your food or being kneecapped by soldiers.
Or shot in the head by a sniper.
Or snipers. They can't see you in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And you can knock on the door if it is.
If you can.
So for me, over here, it is a ghosty white. I can definitely recommend this War of Mine. If you want the scenarios, get the expansions. If you're just interested in the base game is absolutely fine just to play with. So 2 thumbs up from us. Definitely. We'll see you again. I'm going to go and sob into the pillow now.